Welcome to today's edition of 10 TV Plus. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud alongside Michael Behrens. Cold enough for you out there today?
It is a cold day out there, Dylan. I am almost always too hot. Not today. Not even close.
Not today. We've got another shot of this cold Arctic air next week, which we'll talk about just a bit. But you know what? In the meantime, we do warm up a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be nice too, because I mean, I know in this type of cold, energy bills are high, the heaters are running all the time. Got to get some.
That's the thing, the electric bill, running the heat all day.
Not going to be nice.
They say keep the house at about 65. So today we got down to 4 degrees this morning. Now by Friday afternoon, we're up to around 38 degrees. So if you don't like the cold air, don't worry. At least in the short term, we do warm things up a little bit as we head into the day on Friday. Now, before we talk about this warm up, look at this. As we head into tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., we are looking at some snow showers out there. Not a whole lot's going to accumulate, but definitely drive safe if you are out there on the roadways. 2:30 in the morning, coast is clear, but by 6 o'clock in the morning, now we're getting some snow showers moving in. Here's Circleville, Lancaster, Coshocton starting to get a little bit of snowfall here. This is not going to be as hard hitting as the snow that we had yesterday, but it's more so the timing, 8:30. Just enough to kind of slow you down on that morning commute. Then as we head towards 10, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we finally kick that out of here, and things eventually will start improving as we head through the day. Now, the further north and east that you go, I think that the amounts will be a little bit higher. If you live here in the blue, Mount Vernon, Coshocton, Newark, and Cambridge, we could be talking close to an inch. And then as you head down to some of these southern areas like Piketon and Jackson, looking at maybe a tenth of an inch, maybe a half. That's pretty much it. And then we talk about the weekend. Saturday, more rain, more snow on the way. I think Sunday's the drier of the 2 days. It's not all fun and games, though. There will be a couple flurries and or snow showers to contend with. We got not one. We got two pieces of energy. 1, 2. These two are going to kind of work in tandem with one another. And as we head towards Saturday, look at this. We have all that moisture coming in from the south. That's going to deliver milder air. And so with ground temperatures near 40, we're tracking more of a rainmaker than a snowmaker. Now, there will be enough cold air aloft that we do expect some snow down to the ground, but with a high temperature of 39, you better believe that's not going to be cold enough for it to accumulate. And then that moves off to the east. Then on Sunday, we kind of get grazed by with another system. That is going to be a nor'easter, but then for parts of southeast Ohio, notice that we kind of get some of the edges of that system that will drive in some snow, and then that's going to be veering off to the northeast. Let's talk about some of these nighttime lows. I never like to be the bearer of bad news. I hate delivering bad news, but this is not going to be good for the energy bill going into Monday and Tuesday morning. Why? The return of the polar vortex. What is the polar vortex? It's a strong wind of circulating cold air up near the polar regions. Occasionally, you get a bit of a split, a bit of a weakening within that jet stream, and oopsie, here we go. It goes all the way down to the deep south, down to the Tennessee River Valley. Parts of the deep south may be 20, 30 degrees below average heading into next week. Tuesday afternoon. By Tuesday afternoon, these are not morning wind chills. These are Tuesday afternoon wind chills. Columbus would feel like 2 degrees. Toledo feeling like only 5. And then as we head off towards parts of Wisconsin and the upper Midwest, I mean, it could be as low as -10, the feels like forecast going into the afternoon. So let's talk a little bit about what this polar vortex is. It's basically an area of cold air up high in the atmosphere. Typically, it stays in the polar regions year-round, but occasionally a piece of that cold air will slide into the U.S. And it typically consists of temperatures at least 30 degrees below average or more. If you're 10, 15 degrees below average, that is pretty standard, and that happens pretty often. But once you get down to 30 below average, typically that's consistent with a polar vortex. They don't happen every year. Sometimes you skip a year. We've actually skipped the last few years. They happen on average about once every 3 to 4 years, typically. Now, as we head out to the next 6 to 10 days, bullseye, Louisiana, some areas down there could be on the order of maybe 35, close to 40 degrees below average. Here at home, we're going to be about 30 degrees below normal. Not a whole lot of rainfall showing up here over the next 6 to 10 days either. We stay a little bit drier, but there's that cold air. Look at that, January 20th, 21st, Monday and Tuesday. Look how far below average we are. And then eventually we start kind of warming up a little bit as we head into next week. This is very ironic, but the typical climatological coldest time of the year happens to be January the 20th. So you take all 12 months, you take all 365 days. Typically, our coldest day of the year is right around January the 20th. And so it's no coincidence this year, but that should be one of our coldest days, if not the coldest day. Okay, here we go. 2 10 TV weather impact alert days for Monday and Tuesday. We've got the bitter cold, and it's going to be downright frigid as we head towards those days. Michael, today we got down to around 3 or 4. We're talking -3 wind chills in the afternoon. Might not even climb above 0.
Yeah, and to highlight that again, that's a -3 actual temperature. That's not the feels like. It's going to be even worse when you factor in that wind.
And it doesn't take a 10-mile-per-hour wind can drop that wind chill down exponentially. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know, with all of this extreme cold we've been seeing around, it's important to keep safety in mind when temperatures drop on days like today and, well, next week. Doctors say they can see an increase in the rate of cold-related illnesses and injuries as a result.
The illnesses can kind of vary between musculoskeletal problems because there's more likely to be ice outside on the roads and on the sidewalks, and so people are falling more often, all the way up to things like heart attacks and strokes, just because how impactful the cold can be onto someone's body.
And medical experts also say long exposure to cold weather can cause hypothermia. Symptoms can include shivering, slurred speech, slow breathing, confusion, or clumsiness, including pale skin. Doctors say there's another serious condition that can occur when the body is exposed to those cold temperatures.
Frostbite is also something that can happen from prolonged exposure, but it can also happen just from short exposures, depending on kind of how protected those areas are to the cold. So it doesn't have to be that you're outside for a long time.
In conditions deemed as this kind of extreme cold, experts encourage you to put on 2 to 3 layers of warm clothing, including a hat, gloves, and boots. In extreme cold conditions, you're going to want to, again, cover all those exposed areas of skin, including the face. With today's dangerous temperatures that we're around in the forecast for next week, several warming centers have been opened around central Ohio. My Project USA on Sullivan is open 24/7, as well as First English Lutheran Church on East Main Street. In Delaware, the Zion United Church of Christ will be open tonight through tomorrow morning. For a full list of warming centers, head to 10tv.com. The Consumer 10 team is helping protect your home from fire risk. During extreme cold, data from the National Fire Protection Association shows heating equipment is one of the leading causes of home fire deaths. From the year 2018 through 2022, fire departments responded to nearly 40,000 fires on average, and more than 450 people died each year. The Ohio State Fire Marshal says never use your stove or oven to heat your home, and remember to use a space heater properly.
For the space heaters, they're named appropriately because they need space. Anything around a space heater should be clear for at least 3 feet around that space heater. They shouldn't be near anything combustible at all. And the same thing applies to any other combustibles in your home if you've got them near any kind of a heating device.
Officials encourage you to have a professional come to your home and inspect the furnace, keep a fireplace also inspected at least once a year. Also, check to make sure there's batteries in your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. If you have a fire extinguisher, make sure it hasn't expired. And it's not just your home's heating, but your plumbing that can also see some dangers in these extreme cold weathers. It's important to make sure you prevent your pipes from freezing. The American Red Cross advises people to turn the faucet to a constant drip, open cabinet doors, and close foundation vents. We spoke with leaders at a local heating and cooling company. They say don't set your thermostat too high when outside temperatures go low.
You don't want to keep your thermostat set too high. You don't want to overburden the system if it's super cold outside and you've got your thermostat set on 90. It's really going to overwork the system. So you want to maintain a reasonable temperature inside the home, 68 to 70 degrees, and again, that'll help ensure that you're not overworking the system. If your water comes out in a trickle, there's a good chance you may have a frozen pipe.
The Red Cross says shut off your water and find the area where that line is frozen. Experts say you can then thaw the pipe with a heating pad or hair dryer or space heater, but again, warned, do not use a blowtorch, kerosene, or propane heaters. Also, make sure you, again, keep those faucets open and running. That running water will help to melt away more of the ice. To read more information on how to prep your home, you can look for this story on 10tv.com. And before we move on, remember, if it's too cold outside for yourself, it's probably too cold for your four-legged friend as well. Animal experts say when temperatures are low, it's best to keep a close eye on your pets and limit their time outdoors. When animals are experiencing hypothermia, experts say they start to whine, shiver, slow down, or appear weak. They may also look for a warm place to burrow. The Columbus Humane Society says there are certain breeds that just can't handle the cold weather.
This is the time of year you want to limit that outdoor time, avoid having them outside for extended periods, especially in our small breeds, our senior animals as well, and those with short coats are going to have extra hard time this time of year. So if you're going out for walks with animals like that, maybe consider a pet safe sweater, something that is adequately fit that they can still move around and use the restroom.
Also, keep in mind, salt, ice, and snow can get stuck between your pet's paws. Experts encourage you to wipe their paws off after a walk to remove antifreeze or other chemicals that could be harmful. And, like we said, Dylan, this kind of cold weather, it impacts everyone, your home, your pets. We're all suffering in this.
Absolutely, too. I remember growing up, always waking up 1 o'clock in the morning, the pipes bursting too. So it's like ever since then, now I always let the water drip a little bit.
I was worried about it last night. I was doing the dishes and I could feel that cold air coming through the wall behind my sink. And I'm like, I think I might want to leave these open tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And switching gears now, let's check in on the latest with the California wildfires. It's been over a week since those massive fires broke out in Los Angeles, and the area burned by the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires covers about 60 square miles. Thousands of structures damaged or destroyed and thousands of people under evacuation orders. Lee Waldman reports from the Pacific Palisades area about people who are still not able to get back to their home to see what's salvageable from their property.
Since early this morning, we've seen crews here in Pacific Palisades working to clear this neighborhood of hazards so people can start getting back to their homes. We spoke to the family who lives in this home. They were some of the last to evacuate and haven't been back in over a week. We were able to bring some of their home back to them.
Oh my God.
It's the first time Paul Yonette and his 91-year-old father Howard have seen what's left of the home they lived in for decades. Roadblocks are keeping them out, but we were able to grab video for them and a few mementos buried amongst the ashes. When the evacuation orders came last week, Paul and Howard stayed. They raced to safety after trying to defend their home with garden hoses.
Do it, and then suddenly there was a wall of flame and heat and embers. My jacket was catching on fire.
Howard's other son, Henri, shot this video the next morning.
Oh my God, it's gone. It's gone.
The neighborhood he grew up in, destroyed. Now he's not sure if the community will come back again.
You have people who have lost everything and are absolutely not going to be able to afford having to live somewhere else on a pension.
While winds this week aren't nearly as powerful as when the fire started, Colin Noyes with CAL FIRE says they're up against dry conditions and low relative humidity, increasing the risk of new fires to pop up.
We have a strong initial attack force right now. All of our aerial resources here, all of our fire engines and crews, if they're not actively engaged in this, they can be easily deployed to any new starts.
Red flag warnings were reinstated for parts of Los Angeles and Ventura today, as we're expecting more wind gusts to pick up throughout the day before they move back out this weekend. In Pacific Palisades, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
Thanks to Lee for that report. I want to go ahead and get the latest information on those winds in Southern California. Not as strong as what we were seeing last week, as she mentioned, which is some good news. But with the dry weather and low humidity, this is still going to be quite a dangerous situation. Wind advisories in place all the way from San Diego up to just south of Bakersfield. These are lower than the high wind warnings that they had last week, but we're still dealing with some pretty powerful wind gusts. You can see from Crestline, those wind gusts around 30 miles per hour as we head through this this afternoon. The same as you head over to Oxnard or towards Santa Clarita, seeing those strong winds in place as well. These are expected to weaken some as we head through tonight and into early Thursday. Again, those winds providing some relief, not being as strong as they were last week, but we're still seeing that high fire risk out there. Those red flag warnings remain in place across Southern California. Those will be in place till at least 6 o'clock this evening, and I would expect those to probably continue from there, given that condition they have out there with the dry weather.
Well, at least no rain expected anytime soon, but at least the winds aren't going to be as bad as they were before.
Yeah, the winds we saw last week when those fires really took off, we're talking hurricane strength winds that sometimes out there, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gust. Yeah. It's just hard to contain anything.
Yeah, I think at one point last week we got up to like 109 miles per hour, over 100. I know that for a fact. So luckily anything but that. So we're not seeing that anymore.
Yeah, and hopefully they can use this break in the winds to get more of those fires contained, which would be good news for people out there. And finally today, I do want to check out some new video coming in from around the world. First, long-awaited images of the newest addition to southern Germany's Karlsruhe Zoo, a polar bear cub shown having an intimate relationship with its mother Nuka in their enclosure. Spokesperson for the zoo filmed these images on Sunday, while the polar bear cub now crawls and gets stronger every day. Mother Nuka gave birth to 2 cubs. One of them, unfortunately, did not make it, but the chances for the cub's survival were estimated to be fairly slim given the birth. According to the zoo, visitors will have to be patient before they can catch a glimpse of the surviving polar bear cub. For now, the area around the enclosure will remain closed to allow the mother and cub time they need to themselves. So
they're like, can I have some privacy here?
I mean, what better to go along with the cold weather we're having than some polar bear, new polar bear cubs out there. So good to see that that second cub there.
They're pretty much in their home climate.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to this cold. And finally, an annual celebration featuring ice castles is drawing crowds in New Hampshire. Art installations are created by harvesting and arranging thousands of icicles and then drenching them with sprinklers. The company behind the display said it took 25 million pounds of ice and over 2 acres to create these works of art.
Jeez.
That is amazing.
Wow.
Right there. I mean, we are cold enough in Ohio, we can make some of those this week, I would think. I love the lighting effects there.
Yeah, I went to school up in Vermont, and every year they would have a fountain, and they would just let it grow out. They never stopped the fountain, and by February it was humongous.
Wow. So, I mean, that's beautiful.
Well, we're going to have the cold air for that next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. All right. Well, that does it for us here on 10 TV Plus. But if you want more weather coverage, check back in tonight at 6 o'clock with Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz.